Greetings! You're listening to a recorded version of Sierra Club's Solar Group By Community Education Session. My name is Katie Malcheski. I'm a solar project developer at Sunvest Solar Inc. In spring of 2017, Sierra Club issued a request for proposal to solar developers such as Sunvest. They evaluated our pricing, our quality of work, and our references. In the end, our mission was one deciding factor that made them want to work with us. Together, we're bringing you this program in order to educate and promote clean, renewable energy on a statewide basis. Before we get started, I want to make sure everyone's on the same page. We'll start by going through a quick introduction of solar PV, including components and definitions. We'll go through some installation examples, including residential and commercial, discuss the specifics of this solar group buy program, and discuss industry trends. Due to Wisconsin regulations, we are forced to purchase all of our electricity from one source. Whether it's We Energies, MG&E, WPS, it's all determined on where you live. So we all get electricity to keep the lights on, and we rely on this. This group buy gives us a little bit of a choice though. We may still get our electricity, some of our electricity, from the grid, but having solar on your home or business now allows you to produce and use some of your own clean, renewable energy. Typically, when you get energy from your utility company or from the grid, it comes from a number of sources. It could be coal or wind or maybe even a little bit of solar, maybe some nuclear. By and large though, coal is the main factor and accounts for over 60% of electricity generation in our state. So, to make sure that we're all on the same page, let's start with one of the smallest components of solar. It's called a solar cell. Each cell comprises a solar module, and when modules are put together, they form an array. There are different types of cells. We could have monocrystalline, polycrystalline, or thin film. Monocrystalline is by far the most efficient, but it's also the most costly. Thin film is the least efficient and also pretty costly. Polycrystalline is a nice sweet spot. It's pretty darn efficient and it's also very affordable. In residential applications, we typically talk about a 60-cell panel. So that's 60 of these cells all put together in one panel. In commercial applications, we refer to 72-cell panels. Let's look at a typical residential installation. By and large, most of them will be roof-mounted and use 60-cell polycrystalline solar panels. They are flush to the roof and at the same tilt angle. It can be oriented according to the roof, whether it's completely due south, due west, due east, or somewhere in between. Here are a few more examples of what a typical residential system might look like to you. We have options though, depending on your specific site and roof conditions. In the top left, for example, we have a metal roof. With metal roofs, we can use a non-penetrating clamp, which just clamps down on the seam of the roof. In the upper right-hand corner, we have a multi-surface solar array. Here we have a partial array that faces south and part of the array that faces west. This was done in order to maximize production, as the south facing alone did not produce enough for this customer. In the bottom left, we have a detached building. When shading or other concerns prevent you from putting solar on your home, a detached building works perfectly fine as a structure for holding your solar array. In the bottom right, you'll notice that we have a flush mount array as well as a flat portion. This flat roof utilizes tilt-up legs so that the panels are tilted towards the sun. We could also look at a ground mount system if your roof is not conducive to producing solar, whether it's too shaded or facing completely north or something like that. We can also look at commercial applications. Most of the time we see flat roofs on commercial buildings, so we recommend a low tilt ballasted system. Low tilt allows us to increase the density of the panels because when the tilt is lower, it creates less of a shadow row to row. Here's one example of a roof-mounted system on a flush asphalt shingle roof. Here we have a metal standing seam roof. And here again we have a flat roof with a low tilt ballasted system. In addition to the solar panels, each system will have to come with an inverter. An inverter converts the DC or direct current power that is produced by the panels into AC or alternating current, which is used by the appliances in your home or business. In addition to an inverter, you may need a second meter or replace a single meter with a bidirectional meter. This depends on which utility territory you reside in. Additionally, all systems must come with an external disconnect switch, as can be seen in the lower portion of the picture on the right-hand side. This disconnect switch allows utility companies to turn off the power to your system if they have to work on the lines in your neighborhood. This allows the linemen to work in safety and prevents electric shock. We have options when it comes to inverters. Some inverters are allow panels to be strung together in series so that each panel is only as good as the weakest producing panel in the string. Other inverters, such as SolarEdge, come with DC optimizers, which are attached on the back of every panel in a residential application or every other panel in a commercial application, allowing each panel or set of panels to operate independently. This is used when shade is a concern or if a customer wants to maximize solar production. SolarEdge also has a product called a battery-ready inverter, also called StoreEdge. This could be connected to a battery now or a battery later. If connected to a battery later, it still acts as an inverter, perfectly fine in the time being. Additionally, SolarEdge has a product that comes equipped with an EV charger or an electric vehicle charger. So whether you already have an electric vehicle and you don't have a charger at home yet, or maybe you're getting solar now and you think you might get an electric vehicle in the future, this could be a good product for you. So let's talk about the types of solar systems. By and large, most systems are grid-tied without battery backup. That means when the sun is shining, you're producing power and using power. But when the cloud rolls over or it's nighttime, then you're still relying on energy from the grid, just as you do now. This gives you increased reliability as you're still connected to the grid, but still allows you to produce your own clean, renewable energy. Additionally, we could look at off-grid systems. This comes with a charge controller and battery bank. This can be quite an expensive project, and we will have to really dive deep into the electrical loads of the house, looking at every single outlet, light bulb, and the power needed for each appliance. Most people don't go this route. Now there is an option in between. It's a grid-tied system with battery backup. So the sun is shining, it's producing electricity that you can use in your house, and if it's producing more electricity than you need, you could store it in batteries for a rainy day. So, what are the benefits of solar? Most of you can name the obvious environmental benefits of going solar. You're less reliant on fossil fuels, you have clean, renewable energy, and the system will last for 25 plus years. But there's also financial benefits to going solar. You'll notice immediately a drastic reduction in your monthly electrical bills. Also, in the long term, you'll see a system that can pay for itself and still produce power in maybe 5 years for a business or 10 to 12 years for a residential customer. Also, if you're looking at the internal rate of return, this is on par or even better than some stocks that you could invest in, so it's actually seen as an investment. Additionally, this can be an educational tool. Whether you're teaching your kids or your neighbors, you can really use this as a learning lab, particularly when you look at your consumption versus your production and the amount of carbon that is offset by your system. You can really get the community involved in your system. You can host a party at your house and tell them all about your experience and how it works. Also, just having a system on your home tends to incentivize other members that may have thought about going solar before but were a little bit hesitant. Seeing it on your home makes them want it on their home. And this has been proven to be true in neighborhoods and communities across the state and across the country. Additionally, there is an economic impact to your local area by going solar. The solar industry relies on project managers, installers, accountants, designers, engineers, any position that you can think of for a typical business to run, solar needs it too. Additionally, solar could help your home's resale value. We've seen studies of this on the coasts, and we've heard anecdotal evidence of this in Wisconsin. Some sellers can even recoup their entire investment if the buyer is motivated enough to purchase a home that has solar. There's an added value to a buyer getting solar with a home because now, instead of purchasing a home, having a mortgage, and having a loan for solar, it can all be wrapped into one. So what is a group buy? A group buy is essentially the clustering of marketing efforts, site assessments, and installations. This allows for efficiencies in time and labor. Additionally, we are able to purchase equipment in bulk. So instead of buying 5 kilowatts worth of solar panels, we can buy a whole semi-truck full of solar panels and distribute them among all participants in the group buy. So that was the front-end savings. There are also back-end savings associated with this group buy. We've given ourselves 3 goals to achieve across the entire state. The first goal is 50 kilowatts. So a typical residential system is about 5 kilowatts. So when you and 9 of your other friends get together and achieve 50 kilowatts in total, that triggers a rebate for each participant in the group buy. And that rebate is $50 times the number of kilowatts that you have installed. So let's say you have 10 kilowatts out of the 50, you get $50 times your 10 kilowatts. The same is true when we reach our second goal of 100 kilowatts and our third goal of 150 kilowatts. So when the group reaches 150 kilowatts and you have a 6.6 kilowatt system, you get a rebate of $990. These checks will be mailed out to you from SunVest at the end of the program, typically at the very beginning of 2019. So, you're interested. What should you expect? Well, go ahead and sign up online to request a quote. You can do this by going to Sierra Club's website, which has a link to our website, or you can go to our website directly at sunvest.com. You'll then receive a preliminary quote for your system. This is typically based on Google Earth imagery and some assumptions that are made from our designers. Once you look at this quote and get a sense for how big of a system you could get, about how much it'll offset your current consumption, and how much it'll cost, if you're interested in moving to the next step, then request an on-site assessment. At this assessment, your project developer will go over all the details of your proposal, including system size, components, upfront cost, rebates, and long-term economics. We'll also evaluate the structure of your roof, your electrical systems, and your meter, and answer any other questions that might come up along the way. After the assessment, we'll give you a final design, and assuming you're interested in moving forward, we'll give you a contract and you provide a $500 deposit. Then you go solar. We anticipate having all to most solar systems installed by the end of this year. So when you go to our website and you request a quote, again, that's sunvest.com/Sierra Club, you'll see a form that looks just like this. Please enter your name, email, phone number, and physical address, including the city. Are you a home or a business or both? And how likely are you to install this year? Some additional information that would be helpful for us is if you list your utility company and your electric consumption, preferably on a month-by-month basis for a full year. Any other information that you could provide would be helpful, such as you may see a tree on Google Earth, but that tree is no longer there, or we're getting a brand new metal roof. Google Earth shows asphalt roof. Or I would prefer to have solar on my garage as opposed to my home. All these are good tips. So you'll get, in your quote, you'll get a picture that looks something like this, but of your home. We can see with relative accuracy vents and chimneys, skylights and trees, and so we try to design around that. You may see in your quote a system that is a little too small or a little too large for your liking. Don't worry, it's easily adjusted. This is just a stepping stone. The next page of your proposal will look like the image on the left. I understand there's a lot of numbers and text here, but don't fret. We'll break it down for you. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll see System Economics. This tells you the cost per kilowatt and the total upfront system cost. So here we have an $18,354 price tag for a 7.15 kilowatt system. You can take a 30% federal investment tax credit on the total system price minus the rebates. Rebates may include a Focus on Energy rebate. This is dependent on the azimuth of the array, that is, how far away from due south it is. It must be within 45 degrees of due south in order to qualify. And you must have less than 10% shading on an annual basis to qualify. There's also a maximum Group I rebate. In the previous slide, we talked about our three goals of 50 kilowatts, 100 kilowatts, and 150 kilowatts. This maximum Group I rebate assumes that we've met our 150 kilowatt goal. The maximum rebate that you can get is $1,000. So when you take your total system price, subtract your two rebates, and take a 30% federal tax credit on that, your $18,000 price tag just went down to $10,700. Depending on the price of electricity for your area, this brings the payback down to 8.8 years. Believe it or not, the cost of your electricity can be a big determining factor for payback period. Whether your electricity costs 10 cents, 11 cents, 13 cents, it does add up over time. So it's very important for us to know that. So looking back at the left, at the bottom, you can see that the cost of solar produced energy over 30 years is $10,748. You'll notice that is the same price as the net year one system cost. Essentially what this is saying is that for just under $11,000, you're pre-purchasing 30 years of clean, renewable electricity. If you were to purchase the same amount of electricity from the grid just as you do now, it would cost you over $47,000. So this solar system saves $36,000 over its life of 30 years. You'll also see this graph of a monthly summary of production versus consumption. The blue shows your consumption month to month for a full year. Yellow shows your production for this proposed system size. Now, production is based on a number of factors. The system size, which is the number of panels and wattage per panel. The azimuth, how far away from due south we are. The tilt angle. Shading obstacles, whether it's a chimney or trees or something else. And also your geographic location. For each and every proposal that we complete, it brings in 30 years of weather data from a NOAA weather station, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. These can typically be found at airports. So when we look at these production numbers, they're fairly accurate to what you would see over the life of the system. So now that you have a good idea of what your proposal will look like, and this is the proposal that you'll get via email, then we should schedule an on-site visit. Here we'll discuss design options, such as system size. Do you want it larger or smaller? Do we need to adjust it for obstructions or vents or skylights? We'll talk about specific panels that you can choose from, as well as inverter options. We'll verify the location of the array, whether it's on your home, on a detached building, or on the ground. And we'll talk about where your inverter and conduit will be located, whether it's inside or outside. And then we'll finalize the design. We'll provide you the necessary paperwork and contracts for you to sign. We will then complete your interconnection application, which is a contract between you and your utility saying that you have this solar system and that you may be backfeeding to the grid, or you may be pushing energy back to the grid if you produce more than you consume. Each and every system requires one of these interconnection applications. Additionally, if you qualify for Focus on Energy, we will complete your reservation application and your final application. And then you get solar. So why is now a good time to purchase solar? Well, costs are going down dramatically for one reason. Right, in 2001 you could see that the cost per watt of solar was $10, and now it's about $3.50 per watt. That's quite the decrease. Additionally, the number of installations are going up over time. Solar is becoming seen as more normal and mainstream. It's being recognized not just for its environmental benefits, but also its financial benefits. Here you can see a close-up of the types of installations that are coming online. We have residential, non-residential or commercial, and utility scale, which is like the whole farm fields that are filled up with solar panels. So as you can see, this has been going up. It was expected to take a drop in 2017 because the investment tax credit was slated to decrease, but then you can see that it starts to tick back up again. And as policies change and incentives become more and more available, and as this becomes more and more normal, we'll continue to see an increase. Another industry trend is job growth. As I mentioned earlier, to run a solar business, you need a whole host of positions: accountants, engineers, project managers, people in the field, people in the office. And as solar continues to grow, so does its demand for job creation. So, I think we've gone through a lot of information. You've learned about the components of solar, you've seen some examples, you understand now what a group buy is, you've seen what a proposal could look like for you, and you see how the industry has been trending as of late. Next step is to request your solar proposal. You can reach me by phone or email, or if you really want to, stop on by. Thank you so much for listening. Hope to talk to you soon.